Lovely, lovely. Welcome, Fortunato.
Welcome,
Good morning.
everyone.
Wake up.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How did we get so lucky, Ben? Huh? Happy new moon, by the way.
Thank you. Happy new moon to you.
Happy new moon.
I,
Exciting
I
energy.
I'm excited for the possibility of this energy. Yesterday I was really feeling it. Like
Uh-huh.
I've been
Yeah.
feeling all this energy, Cassie. Toward like it's just been like stress and like we've got a lot going on. We're
Well, it's always
gearing up.
darkest before dawn, right? So
Right. And
it's been
I
pretty dark lately.
Well, to take the time to see what we can do with this energy, and you said, "How do we get so lucky?" I think just showing up is part of it. We just keep showing up and
That's
showing
right.
up for ourselves and
And
for other
choosing
people
it.
and choosing
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
So, for everyone who's joining today, I just want to say thank you, whether you're listening now or in the future on our podcast, because if we are a podcast, so thank you for being part of this conversation. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah, we are really, really grateful, guys. And this has been such a, for me at least, Ben, I know that you've done these things a lot, but this has been such a really beautiful experiment on collective consciousness, right? And how collective consciousness works with the space and a vessel to be able to be expressed. And
Mm.
every week I'm just so incredibly humbled by what comes out of these sessions, these podcasts, and thank you guys. Thank all of you. Thank you all for showing up and for asking questions and being present, and thank you, Ben, as always, for being such a great co-host and leader of incredible magnitude.
Ditto, Bubba.
Thank
I
you.
was gonna say ditto,
No,
Bobby.
ditto, bye. Welcome to showing up for
Thank you.
others. How do you show up for you? How do you show up for you first, Ben? How do you show up for you?
Well, I think that's a key. We can't really show up for other people if we can't show up for ourselves. And
Exactly.
it took me a long time to learn how to show up for myself. So how do
Yeah.
I do it now? I take time for myself. That is something that I didn't used to do that much, especially not intentionally.
Hmm.
But I think that's something that's become really powerful and even more and more important to me is finding not only just time alone, but time to reset. So moving my body, stretching, meditating, taking time to really sit and listen
Hmm.
and be still, I noticed is just, I feel like I can't say that enough right now.
Sure.
And then also, I build accountability around me. So I have people in my life who, if I don't show up, start to ask questions, check on me. So I like to I create accountability because I always, I have this old habit or familiar pattern of kind of like slipping through the cracks or not showing up fully or
Right.
so literally just practicing holding myself accountable just to show up because no matter what my head tells me, usually just I tend to have smart feet. So even if my head is telling me no, just to smart feet by saying my feet will get me there. Like just arriving physically somewhere, just showing up
Yeah.
to the thing that scares us could be the most powerful action we take today. So that's what I practice doing. Just like show up where I say I'm going to show up.
Right. Having integrity, I guess, right? It's a level
Yeah.
of integrity, not only with others, but really, really also with yourself. That used to be one of the things that I remember really, really, I'm going to say held me back is that I would overpromise,
Mm,
right? I would overpromise to others, and at the end of the day, like I wouldn't show up. Literally, I wouldn't show up because I was too exhausted or I was wanting to do something else. And I realized that one of the most important ways for me to show up is to really ask myself, like, what would be a contribution to me? Like, what would be kind to me, and what would be kind to me in how I can show up for somebody else? Because oftentimes people, uh they request our energy, or they need our energy, or they desire our energy, and what ends up happening is that maybe what's better is to allow them to also reset on their own. Maybe sometimes being there for them means saying, "Hey, I'm here for you. Whatever you need, this is what I'm going to do right now. Let's regroup in, a couple hours or a few days or whatever." And giving people space, I
Yeah.
think. Right? I think the
Yes.
energy of space is something that we don't think about when we think about showing up for others.
Hmm.
And I mean, look at some of the greatest relationships in our lives, the people who for whatever reason, maybe time, space, motion, whatever, have left our lives and then they come back at a later time and it's like you're even stronger than you were before, right? So I
Yeah.
want to honor that sometimes showing up for each other, showing up for yourself is by actually creating space for yourself,
Hmm. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it's important to make space for ourselves. I think we can do it for other people, and even showing up for other people, like you said, we can get completely exhausted, depleted, learning how to show up to be of service. And that's important, that selflessness. And,
Yeah.
that's something that makes 12-step programs so incredibly healing, is this act of service, just being able to show up for someone else. The
Yeah.
power of showing up for someone else also generally tends to help you too, right?
Always.
And a way of showing up can say, like, I am depleted. I actually don't have anything to give right now, or I need to take some time to myself. And so being able to have that, being able to say no in order to take care of yourself could be sometimes the greatest act, the greatest way to show up for another person
Exactly.
is showing up for yourself first. Because if you're showing up for them, but you're not even present, or you're completely worn out, or you don't have anything to give, then it doesn't actually serve either one of you.
That's right. That's right. What are some other ways that actually I want to ask you this question. How do you how do you like people to show up for you?
Hmm, that's a great question. Um,
Like if I were to show up for you, if I as your friend wanted to know what you require, and meaning what you require, what is needed, for lack of a better term, for you to feel supported, for you to feel cared for, what would that look like for you?
that's beautiful. For me, it's just friends asking how I'm doing, just checking in.
Amazing.
Um, like even before we started this, you said like, "How are you? How are you actually doing?" Just for me, that's enough. Just someone saying hi, or I'm thinking about you. I find time, especially my close friends, creating time one on one in person, I think is one of the most valuable things. So to create that, if possible,
Hmm.
to sit down and have that time, that to me is really, really special when friends have even expressed interest in doing that, even if they're not able to.
Right.
Um, uh, to create that time that's not just at a big event, or not just at a happening, or that
Yeah.
we could actually sit and be still together. I think that's really nice. I really value that.
Yeah. Just the invitation alone, right?
Yeah,
The invitation alone is an act of kindness. And sometimes it's like, again, back to that whole thing of overpromising. Maybe I'm talking about this today because this is what I need to work through, over this overpromising thing.
yeah,
But being honest with yourself and honest with others when you say, "Hey, look, I want to check in with you, and I would like to create the space for us to be together, or to spend time together." To ask, is that really what's going to create the most? If that's going to create the most for both of us, and
mm,
and saying, "Okay, let's see, let's play with that." And I just, like you said, I like, sometimes the invitation is enough.
yeah, yeah. It's really nice. And I've been an overpromiser too. I mean, my friends used to call me the yes man because I would just say
Oh my
yes
god, me
to
too.
everything,
Me too.
and
Me too.
it would drive them crazy because my buddy Josh today will say, "Yeah, it's amazing to hear you back then say yes to everything," because I was like, "There's no way he's going to be able to do all those things," but in
Right.
my head, I really felt like I could somehow,
Right.
and I would spread myself thin, and I would go all of these places, but just saying yes, eventually I just kept letting people down over and over and over. And I think, like, I want to say yes to things. I want to show up. I want to be that energy. So I have that, yeah. So what I work on now is saying, what I would like, and then the action I'm going to take anyway. So if a friend's or invitation, I'll say, yes, I would love to be there. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm not going to be able to.
Right.
But I really, really appreciate being invited. And I think that's something that's important. Just, so many of us, I think it's that invitation of just being thought of, just knowing we're thought of.
Yeah,
And it's one
exactly.
thing to think of someone, but it's another thing to actually let them know that you're thinking
Hmm.
of them.
Exactly. And also I love what you said too about saying, thank you, acknowledging the invitation. Acknowledging the
Mm.
invitation. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of it or inviting me. Right now I can't choose it, right? That is so much better than saying, "Oh yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to. Let's see what happens." Or I don't know, I mean really 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 be honest with each other. Be
Mm.
honest with yourself. Be honest with each other. And even if you it's something that you would like or that you don't want to engage in, that you communicate that, and
Yeah.
you communicate it and without any fear of letting somebody down or making a wrong choice. We get into this habit of this wrongness so often that we find ourselves in this space of almost like, the word that pops is like guilt, right? We feel guilty about it. Oh my god, I told that person I was going to be here, now I can't, or I don't want to, and now I feel guilty. And then it's this, in again going back to you, it's
Hmm.
this spiral out of control out of that you
Yeah.
know
Yes. Yes. And I think there's something there too. And I want to call myself out on something because I had a friend who was dying of cancer. He was
Mhm.
30 years old. And
Oh wow.
yeah, this was years ago. And it was really tough. And I wanted to hang out with him. And it's in hindsight, all I can say is I could not show up. My body, my brain, just there was some resistance there. Even reaching out to his partner, who I knew really well, and they're dear friends, and I loved him so much. But something about the knowing he was dying. Oh, and it was also like he had stage 4 cancer, and there was going to be no way around it. It was mostly like, how can he be as healthy as possible for as long as possible and stay
Mhm.
as live and comfortable until he passes. And it it really, I just couldn't show up. And I eventually was able to say to his partner years later to make an amends, just to say I wasn't able to show up the way I wanted to. But I realized even then I could have said, like, just I'm thinking about you and I would like to show up, but this is hard for me. I didn't even feel like I could say that to them. I didn't know what to do with the fact that I couldn't show up. And I started to develop this guilt and shame. And that shame kept me even more blocked. It kept me even more from showing up. It made me
Mhm.
even more of a victim and more distanced, to the point where I just couldn't show up. And I don't think I really did. I think I did for maybe his partner later, but it's something I regret. But rather than beating myself up, I'm just looking at it, and I wanted to bring that energy here. Like, where in those times are there people in your life you really want to show up for, and they're really going through something, and
Mhm.
there's a block, and what do
Yes.
we do with that?
Yes.
I think what I could have told my 30-year-old self today is
Yeah.
it's okay, and can you just reach out to him and let him know you're thinking of him, and that you don't know how to show up, but that you just want to let him know you're thinking about him and wondering, and that could be enough, you
Right.
know. Yeah. And also just that it's okay, that I think I would ask myself to just forgive myself. Like, can
Yeah,
you
that's
forgive
what
yourself first?
it's so beautiful. And really, Ben, I'm going to get a little metaphysical here. Like, what were you really aware of in that scenario that you may have been protecting yourself? Okay.
Oh yeah,
And
I'm out 100%.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm saying this because I know you so well.
Yeah.
And you're a natural healer. right?
Mm.
Just who you be and your energy. You're a healer. And so what if you would have been in that situation and all you would have been able to focus on is how can I heal him? Right? How can I heal him? How can I make this better? How can I change this? And maybe you were truly, truly protecting yourself because you knew that it was not what he was choosing, you know? So I
Mm.
think we also need to look at the big picture of and ask, okay, I didn't make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
And in this physical reality, in this reality, I may feel guilty about not making that choice, but where was that choice? What was really, truly, truly required of me? You know, um, I have you are probing, I guess that's the right word. You're reminding me of a similar story that I had in my life, except the person that was dying I didn't know was dying, number 1, when they reached out to me, and number 2,
Mm.
we had been estranged for, like, 20 years, actually. He was my roommate in college,
Oh,
and,
wow.
we had been estranged for a really, really long time, and then out of the sudden, I got a text from him, and he was like, "Hey," he's like, "I just was thinking about you, and I would love to see you." He's like, "I live in Brooklyn." He's like, could you come over? Could I cook for you?" And I was like, "This is so random," you know? And I was immediately aware that he wanted to apologize, right? I was immediately aware that he wanted to apologize.
Mm.
And I said, Well, I don't have to come to your house. We could talk on the phone or whatever." And he's like, "No." He's like, "Honestly, I've really been into cooking lately and I'd like to spend time with you and see you again. It's been a very long time." And so we had actually planned. I said, "Okay, yeah, absolutely, great." Um, and we had actually planned to get together the day after my birthday that year, and literally the day before we were supposed to get together, the day before my birthday, he died. And
Wow.
I had no idea that he was even sick. So
Mm.
all of a sudden everybody's reaching out to me, "Do you did you hear that this person passed away?" And I was in shock. I was in total shock. And I also realized, honestly, Ben, how the universe was protecting me and my energy, you know, and really saying, "Hey, I think just the fact that the way that he reached out was him making amends with me, right? Just by reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'd like to have you over for dinner," or whatever, and me saying yes, me having the willingness to say yes. And that was essentially what I believe to be this karmic correction, if you will, that was available. And it's interesting too, as you are very well aware of, I perceive energy a lot. And I remember that right after he passed away, man, I felt his energy all the time.
Mm.
And I really felt it in like how I remembered him when we were in performing arts school together. Um and it was a really, really beautiful healing. And so sometimes, guys, we show up and we don't even know how we show up, but that's exactly how we need to show up. And so what would it take for us to not judge ourselves also and beat ourselves up and make ourselves wrong for not showing up necessarily the way that others want us to show up, but showing up in the way that is also required, right?
Yeah. Yes. 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 I think that's a great, great question.
Yeah,
And thank you
totally.
for sharing that story too. I had a feeling as soon as, I want to also hold space for our producer Becky, our friend, our assistant,
Yes.
who is been in surgery today, and
Mhm.
she actually suggested this showing up because she said so many people have showed up for her around this,
Yeah, exactly.
and when she brought it up, it was something that let me know that I was showing up for like newly in my life, because she was able to bring it up to us because we were both showing up for her,
Yeah, so beautiful,
and she
right?
was so moved by people showing up. And so I, immediately, of course, my brain thought of all the times I hadn't shown up for people and wanted to beat myself up for that,
Hmm.
rather than, and then I had the thought, oh, I could just share like like when I've had a hard time showing up for people, because what if other people have felt that way?
That's right.
And I really want to acknowledge and thank you for saying, that maybe I was just protecting myself. Like I absolutely was. I was terrified. I didn't know how to be with a friend who was dying in that way. Or maybe I did. Maybe I knew how to be from a distance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we just got news that the surgery went well. That's incredible.
Woohoo!
So happy to hear that. And we've been holding
Amazing.
space for her. Too. Thank you, Sean, for sharing that with us. That's such
Amazing.
good news.
Such great news. Exactly.
Yeah, and so we've been creating that it's going to go great. We've been holding
Yeah.
space together, and so showing up. You can even ask people like, how could I support you?
Yeah.
Rather than you trying to figure it out or beat yourself up, you could just ask them what they need. And
That's right.
sometimes I found that you know that human may often say, man, you just saying that was like great. I remember so many people after my dad died was like, what can I do? What can I do? And I was like, just you having said hi or asking what you can do is enough.
Yeah.
Just hearing your voice. There's not really anything else.
Right. Exactly. It's
And
so
thank you for
beautiful.
asking, that we can just be enough. Especially, and I noticed that around death and Americans and this energy of like, or things that feel near death rather than just,
Right.
like, we could just be enough. We could just be there. We could just be grateful, be ourselves.
Exactly. Exactly. That's amazing.
Well, I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up here. And I want to say thank you to Becky for showing up so much for us. And thank you for allowing us to show up for you.
Yes, we love you so much, Becky. And we are always, always, always holding space for you and sending healing. And I'm absolutely certain that on the other side of this experience, this everything that you've been through is definitely a new level of being for you. So sending you so much love, my love. We miss you and we love you. And we can't wait to see and hear all the magic that you're creating.
Yes. Yes. And to everyone who's listening, this goes for you.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here with us. And
Thank you guys.
listen to the podcast. If you haven't yet, please go online, check that out. Spotify, Google Cast. There's a lot of beautiful medicine and wisdom and fun other episodes there. And thank you for showing up today. I love you, Daniel.
I love you, Ben. Thank you for showing up for me all the time. I love you so much. You're freaking awesome.
Ditto. Love you too.
Bye, guys. Have a great day.
Bye. Take
Thank
care,
you.
everyone. Bye.